And we're off to the races.
Hello, everybody, and welcome. I'm so glad you could join us here today for a special journey in the heart of Canada with Rocky Mountaineer, Canada's premier luxury rail experience. I'm Renee, owner and travel advisor with Red Orchid Travel, and I've been a fan, big fan of this iconic Canada owned and operated train since its inception. And I will wait and let Jennifer tell you how old it is. It's been a while. Coming from a railway family, it's had a special place in my heart. I have a lot of history with my own family with Rocky Mountaineer. So today I invite you to sit back, relax, enjoy being an armchair traveler as we explore the breathtaking landscapes, the seamless service, and once in a lifetime experience that Rocky Mountaineer delivers. Now, before we begin, just a little bit of housekeeping. If you could mute your microphones, that really helps because this is being recorded, and avoid interruption. We will have a question and answer period at the end. If you think of questions along the way, on the bottom of your screen, I think if you're on a desktop, you should be able to hit the chat button and type in your question, and we'll gather them at the end. So, without further ado, thank you so much, Jennifer, for joining us today. I can't wait to listen and hear all your expertise today to tell us everything about the Rocky Mountaineer. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much, Renee, and thank you everyone for joining me, especially during NHL playoffs. So I will get you out of here by 7 so you can go watch the game of choice this evening. My name is Jen Zamet, and I'm actually the key account manager for Rocky Mountaineer based in Cambridge, Ontario. And it's my pleasure to be able to share with you a bit more about Rocky Mountaineer, what makes us such a special journey, and how we can welcome you to come on board. I'm going to turn off my video though, just because I'm sharing some videos with you, so you don't need to see me anymore. All right, so let's get going. So, um, I know everyone, when they think of Rocky Mountaineer, you can immediately envision our dome coaches, and it is an experience that is extraordinary. I actually just got off the train on Tuesday, so it's always a very unique and exhilarating experience. We are very different from other rail opportunities in Canada. So we are not a commuter service. We operate a luxury daylight only rail experience through the Canadian Rockies. We creep through the Rockies at about 30 kilometers an hour, so you can immerse yourself in all of that amazing scenery. As Renee alluded to, seamless service. So we will treat you to a gourmet breakfast and lunch on board the train. And the best part is you just sit back, relax, and take in the beauty that is in our own backyard. Now that I've set the mood, and that video, I can tell you, does not do the journey any justice. as Renee mentioned, we have been around for quite a long time. We've been operating for, this is actually our 35th season. We are a Canadian company based out of Vancouver, BC. Our founder, Peter Armstrong, had this incredible, crazy dream way back when that he wanted to bring people from Vancouver into the Canadian Rockies on a daylight only sightseeing experience. And here we are, 35 years later. We have three iconic routes in Canada. And then if you also notice in the map here, we do have a journey down south through the Red Rocks area of the US. But today I'm going to focus just on Canada, just to give you a real sense of all the opportunities and also share with you Renee's group that she has planned for spring of 2026. So I'm going to take a deeper dive into each of the routes. We're going to go through some of the highlights of them. I'm going to walk you through our service levels as well, touch on a couple of package options for you, and share some promotions that we have as well. So when to travel? So as we are daylight only, Mother Nature dictates our schedule. So I always get asked, Jen, what is the best time to go? And it's sort of a personal preference, to be honest. It depends on what you want to get out of your journey. So we operate mid-April to the week after Thanksgiving in Canada. And I prefer spring myself. That's because I'm from Ontario and I don't get to see the mountains on a daily basis. So I like traveling early in the season. There's still snow on the mountaintops, which to me is really magical. Plus, the chances of seeing wildlife are pretty good just because they're active coming out of hibernation. As I mentioned off the top, I was on the train last week and I think we had three seasons in one day, so that's always really fun as well when you're traveling earlier in the season. So one minute you'll get some snow and then some rain and then it's warm, so you just have to pack accordingly. But what I really truly love about traveling early in this season is you sort of avoid all of the tourists because everybody and their brother wants to be in the Rockies during the summer months. So those are some of the reasons I like to travel in the spring. Once we transition into summer months, one of the benefits is the days are much longer, so you'll have much more time to kind of go off and explore once you're in destination. And unfortunately, one of the downfalls, as I mentioned, is the fact that there's a lot of people in Banff, Lake Louise, and Jasper. So you just kind of have to pack your patience when you're in town. If you're making dining reservations, things like that. But like I said, that's one of the only negatives about traveling in the summer. Once we get into the fall season, it is spectacular. So I failed to mention when you're traveling in the spring, the lakes are still frozen. So traveling in the fall, it's kind of the best of both worlds. Sometimes you get the fall foliage, plus the lakes are still thawed out, like Lake Louise. If you want to see her in her turquoise splendor, you do need to travel end of May onwards to make sure that you see the lake in her beauty that we all kind of envision when we think of Lake Louise. Another positive about traveling in the fall, less crowded as well, and the chances of seeing wildlife increase because they are preparing for hibernation. In the summer months, it's too hot and there's too many people around, so they tend to stay a little further out of sight. Now, when it comes to our service levels, our lead-in is Silverleaf. And this is everything is on one level with this particular coach. Now, this is a great option for anybody that has mobility challenges and doesn't want to navigate the staircase that's in Gold Leaf. And one of the highlights is that you get to dine at the comfort of your seat. So you do have a three-course breakfast and three-course lunch included when you're on board. And with Silverleaf, you'll have three options for a main course. Now, I know when I say dining at your seat, everyone envisions how horrible it is to dine on an aircraft. It's tight and, you have no elbow room. It's not like that on board at all, unless you're used to traveling business class. So it's an elevated experience. We bring silverware and linens, and there's wine pairing. So it is a great option, especially, like I said, if you don't want to navigate the staircase. And our team in Silverleaf is phenomenal. They're master storytellers, so they're going to share stories about the flora and fauna, some of their own personal stories as well, and they're really going to immerse you in the journey. Now, gold leaf is usually what everyone thinks of when they hear the name Rocky Mountaineer, and these are our iconic, custom designed bi-level coaches. So you're going to sit up top, and then you'll be dining downstairs. So this is an upstairs shot. Both with silver and gold, you actually have seat assignment, and Renee has nothing to do with that. So there's no requesting aisles or windows or anything like that. As you can see, they're all aisle and window almost. So we actually will assign the seats upon check-in. But there's not a bad seat in the house, whether you're in Silverleaf or in Gold Leaf, and the views are absolutely stunning. Now, getting into the rail routes. So, our first is Journey Through the Clouds. This is 2 days on board the train, and I'm going to share with you the core rail route, okay, or as we like to call it, rail only. Keep in mind, we have many different package options, but I just want to focus and share the highlights of the actual rail journey with you. So you can either begin or end your journey in Vancouver, and we're going to be overnighting in the town of Kamloops and ending in Jasper. So this is available eastbound or westbound, whatever it works best to suit your schedule. And the overnight accommodation in Kamloops is predetermined by Rocky Mountaineer. It's not one of the hotels that you get to select. So some of the highlights of this particular route, it's very romantic. So it has this huge waterfall called Pyramid Falls. It's about 700 feet tall, and it thunders down over these two big rock formations that give it that pyramid shape. Another highlight of this particular route is Moose Lake. Hence its name. It's not uncommon to see some moose in the area, either catching a dip or getting a drink of water. And then, of course, Mount Robson. So, Mount Robson is the highest peak in the Canadian Rockies. So, you can't really miss it while you're out that way. It's so high, it actually has its own weather. Now, our next route, similar to Journey Through the Clouds, it operates between Vancouver and Jasper. However, this is 3 days on board the train, and you'll be overnighting in Whistler and Quesnel. So, this route is unique also because it's only available in Gold Leaf. We do not offer Silver Leaf on the 3-day rail Rainforest to Gold Rush. You can kind of remember that because it has gold in the name. This is a stunning route. Some of the highlights include House Sound. Personally, I think that's the biggest highlight of this route. As you can see from the photo there on the left, the rail line hugs the coastline all up through the sound. It's dotted with these fjords, and you kind of think you're like in Norway or somewhere. But we're in our own backyard in Canada, so it's really breathtaking, and it's not visible from a roadway. So you're part of an exclusive group of people that are witnessing this beauty that is Howe Sound. Another highlight is the Fraser River Swing Bridge. This is not a highlight of mine because I'm terrified of heights. However, it is a highlight upon the route. Back in the day, these used to be made out of wood, which is terrifying. Thankfully, not any longer. And what I love about this route too is as I mentioned, you have an overnight in Whistler, but Vancouver to Whistler is not too far apart. So it's a shorter journey, and you're going to have time to really kind of go and explore Whistler, maybe do some hiking or hit the spa. And then you'll have the overnight as well. So you have a little bit more time in Whistler. Now, first passage to the west. So this is our most popular route, and this is the one that I just experienced last week. And this one operates between Vancouver and Lake Louise or Banff. And it includes an overnight in Kamloops. Now, the reason this is our most popular route is it's the most historically significant for Canada. This is where the last spike was driven to unify BC with the rest of the nation. Now, I know on the map it says Lake Louise and Banff. Now, I'm going to just let you in on a little secret. If you are traveling to Banff, we're going to make a stop at Lake Louise. However, it's only at the rail station. There's no disembarkation, so you're not going to get off the train and go explore. And Lake Louise proper is miles away from the actual station. So I just always like to share that. I don't want people to think they can get off and on and all of that, and they can pop off and take a picture and of the lake and get back on the train. So I just want to set expectations. This is a beautiful route. So you can either board in Vancouver and travel eastbound to the mountain towns, or you can start in the mountains and actually travel westbound to Vancouver. Now, some of the highlights of this route, the Vermilion Lakes, which are just outside of Banff, the Stony Creek Bridge, again, very high, and again, in the past was made of wood. It's a remarkable engineering feat, and it's one of the biggest highlights of the route. My personal favorite, though, isn't even on this particular slide, and that is the spiral tunnels. So the spiral tunnels are phenomenal. And you might, if you've ever been out west, you might have stopped at the observation area and looked at the spiral tunnels from the outside, but you're actually going to be traveling through them on this route. And the wacky part is when you're on the train, you feel like you're leaning to the left, but if you look at the car in front of you, you're actually leaning the opposite way, which is wacky. And then to top it all off, when you're coming out of the tunnel, at the bottom, if you look up, you can see the train entering the tunnel above you, which is, again, crazy. It is amazing. It's about 12 minutes to get through it. And it is just the reason we have the spiral tunnels, to be honest with you, is for to allow the trains to descend at a safe speed and grade. And it was a huge highlight with the group I was accompanying last week. So it's one of the big highlights of this route. Now we have some featured packages. So we're going to start off with Renee's group. So she is looking to travel on First Passage to the West, and it's the excursion package. So we're going to be starting off in Calgary. We're going to be traveling to Banff, overnighting in Kamloops, and then ending in Vancouver. So the dates are May 28th to June 3rd, 2026. And as I said, we're going to be starting off in Calgary. So everybody would fly in to Calgary. You'd have an overnight there. Usually we use the Fairmont Palliser or the Hyatt Regency as an example with our Gold Leaf guests. And Renee is pulling at all the stops, so it will be Gold Leaf on the train as well. So great. If you've never been to Calgary before, it's awesome because you're coming in before Stampede and before it gets all crazy with tourists. And, it's very walkable. There's the Calgary Tower that you can go and visit as well. But I always recommend that you come in at least midday prior to your package starting, just in case, there's Those flights are never on time, they seem, and there's always mechanical issues. And I just don't want you to come in too late that day and not get a good sleep, just in case there's any operational issues with the airlines, weather, all that crazy stuff. Now, the nice thing about this a particular itinerary, I actually did this in reverse. So once you have your night in Calgary, we're going to transfer you up to Banff. Now, Banff, you're going to have 2 nights, which is awesome. And on the way up from Calgary, we're going to be doing the Banff Gondola. So it is a must do while you're in Banff. It takes about 8 minutes to get up to the top, but once you're up there, the views are incredible. So this is we're actually ascending Sulphur Mountain, and that is all included with your transfer up to from Calgary to Banff. Now, if any of you have been to Banff, you probably have this photo of Banff Ave. I think we all do, dating back probably decades. But Banff is bustling. Even last week, it was nice to see the amount of tourists that were in town so early in the season. We had a great day. We had great weather. And if you haven't been to Banff before, the main street is Banff Avenue. It is loaded with different restaurants and shopping, and most of our hotels happen to be on Banff Ave as well, like the Ptarmigan. So they're all kind of rustic and chalet, and I just love them because they're very authentic. But we also use Rimrock Resort, which unfortunately will be closed from October till June next year. But it is a 5-star property, walking distance to the Banff Gondola, a little bit out of town, as well as the Fairmont Banff Springs, which again is not on the Banff Ave strip. So what happens is when you're staying in Banff, you actually get all the hotels provide you with a complimentary bus pass. So if you want to kind of go up and down and explore some other hotels for dinner, or maybe you walk a little too far and then you've done some shopping and you want to take the bus back, you can do that too. And the best part is with Banff is you're going to see wildlife on the street, elk, deer, all wandering around. Which is really, really special when it does happen. So you'll have 2 nights in Banff, as I mentioned, and you'll have tons of free time. So you could maybe book a tour up to Emerald Lake. This was not from my trip last week because the lake is still frozen. It is spectacular. It's one of my favorite visits, to be quite honest with you. And it tends to be less busy than Lake Louise. But speaking of Lake Louise, like I said, if you want to see that turquoise water, you need to travel end of May onward. Otherwise, the lake is frozen. People are walking across it. So I'm just setting expectations just in case, Renee's date doesn't work with your schedule and you're looking at alternative times to travel with us. I also want to mention that the spa at Lake Louise is complete now. It took years and it's beautiful, absolutely stunning. So if you decide to book a trip with us where you're staying at Lake Louise, you're in for a treat because the spa is only available to guests of the hotel. So they don't allow outside guests to come and visit the spa. All right, so let's see what a day on board the train is like, because this is the second morning in Banff. We're going to pick you up from your hotel. The night before, you would have received your boarding passes, your seat assignment, and your luggage tags. So you will tag your bags, your larger suitcase. You'll bring with you only a day pack on board the train. So you're going to leave your luggage, and our Rocky Mountaineer luggage ferries are going to pick it up and take it to your overnight accommodation in Kamloops. So you don't bring your luggage on board, just a knapsack or a tote bag with any medications you may need, reading glasses, chargers. I always recommend wearing light layers. Just so you are comfortable on board the train. Even though they are temperature and climate controlled and UV protected, your hot's different from my hot. So we want to make sure that you're comfy while you're on board. Now, because we are daylight only, it is an early morning pickup, so that's all included. You don't have to organize anything. We'll come and get you at your hotel, and it's usually about 7 a.m. So hopefully you're all early birds, but we want to get everybody on board, all those photos taken outside the train, and be on board and blowing the horn at about 8 o'clock. Once you're on board, it's a three-course breakfast and three-course lunch. If you're in Gold Leaf, that is made from scratch. And you have like, I don't know, six different options. It's crazy. Hopefully you'll see some wildlife on board. That's always really exciting. If you see a bear or hopefully a moose and everybody yells bear on the left and we all run to the left of the train to try to get a photo. And like I mentioned in the Silver Leaf description, our onboard team is really the cherry on top. They are so knowledgeable, not only about the destination, they're there to answer any other questions you may have, serve you your beverages, which are also included while you're on board, so both alcoholic and non-alcoholic. And they are the storytellers. They're going to bring it all to life and really immerse you in the history and the beauty of the Rocky Mountaineer. And then, just in case you missed it, there's no sleeping on the train. So we'll pull into Kamloops. We'll disembark the train. You will have your room keys in hand. So there's no having to queue up at the front desk. And you can go straight up to your room where your luggage is waiting for you. Keep in mind, we don't iron anything or unpack. You're still going to have to do that on your own. But we want you to get a restorative sleep. So we usually get into Kamloops around dinner time. Most people are not hungry when they get off the train because we feed you nonstop. With snacks and things throughout the day. But there are restaurants nearby that if you just want something small to tie you over till breakfast, or maybe grab a cocktail or a coffee with some of the friends that you've made on board the train, you can do that. And then we'll pick you up the next morning and carry on. So with Gold Leaf, we have the exclusive dining room. So that is on the main floor of the Gold Leaf car. It is tables for four, so I always like to point that out. Post-COVID, you may not feel comfortable dining with complete strangers in this close proximity. But I always like to share that it is a table for four. We will ask you to share, okay, and make friends. But I always like to put it out there just in case you're not social. Maybe you're just wanting to spend some alone time and be a little reflective on the journey. Then you could definitely book Silver Leaf, and then you would be dining at your seat. But like I said, there's no tables for two or for one in Gold Leaf. But to be honest with you, this is what most of our guests enjoy the most, getting to know their fellow travelers and the social aspect of the train. So this is an older menu, but it's just to help you envision all of your choices in Gold Leaf. And to be honest, as I said, this is a slightly dated version. There's now actually 6 options for a main course, and usually there's also a special on top of it. So we will obviously highlight some amazing BC wine and salmon and Alberta beef. We can cater to pretty much any dietary restriction that you may have. Just make sure that you tell Renee at time of booking so we can note your file, or if you have any allergies, please just let us know in advance. And this is a video on Gold Leaf just to sort of help you envision what your day on board would be like. So that's what you have in store in Gold Leaf. It is truly remarkable. So both days will be in Gold Leaf service on board the train. When we pull into Kamloops that night, like I said, we're going to transport you to your hotel for the evening for you to get a good night's sleep, and then we'll pick you up the next morning for day two on board the Rocky Mountaineer. So, as you can see from this image, it literally is almost floor to ceiling windows in gold leaf. It is, you're nice and high, so we're trying to get above the tree line, but the food is incredible. I met a woman at a past guest at a show, and she came running up to me and she shared how she had just completed a Alaskan cruise tour. So she was gone for 14 days with a Alaskan cruise and a tour throughout Alaska by motor coach. And she decided to spoil herself for her 75th birthday. And she decided to book the Rocky Mountaineer to celebrate. And she said to me, Jen, I love salmon. I had salmon for breakfast, lunch, and dinner almost while I was in Alaska for 2 weeks. And she's like, I want to share with you the best salmon I had was on the train. So that's a testament to the incredible executive chef and his expertise while you're on board. And all three routes in Canada actually have their own unique menu, which is really special. It's really challenging considering they're all making it all from scratch. Gold Leaf also has this huge outdoor viewing platform, so it's where everybody gets up and stretches their legs and gets some mountain fresh air and takes some videos. We do ask that you keep your limbs in, so this is not really a good representation of what you should do on the platform, but it is a highlight for sure. And the Silverleaf also has a small outdoor vestibule. So it is smaller, but you do have access to the outdoors as well if you want to get some air and some unobstructed videos and photos. Keep in mind, no smoking on the train, no vaping on the train, even in the outdoor areas. And that's because, of course, we're traveling through some very, very fragile landscapes, and a spark could be catastrophic. If any of you here joining us tonight or listening to the recording after are smokers, please know that we do have Nicorette on board the train to help support you through the day. We always know who the smokers are, though, when we get to Kamloops because they're the first ones wanting to get off so they can have a cigarette. So once we get into day two, we'll be arriving into our Vancouver station. So this is just an image of it here. It's really special to actually have our own station. And what I love about the group departure that Renee selected, because we're traveling westbound, that happens to be my favorite direction because I like starting in Calgary. I'm in Ontario, so the time difference isn't too bad. But your big day is your first day. You're right in the Rockies when you're on the train. And I find that's my favorite part is watching our guests board the train and seeing those happy tears. For many of you, it's a bucket list trip. Others are coming to join us to celebrate milestone birthdays or anniversaries. And then we also have those guests that perhaps have had some, medical challenges and they've come through that more resilient. And this is sort of their special gift to themselves for doing that. So that's my favorite part is watching everyone board the train. The second day when you're traveling westbound from Kamloops to Vancouver, you're going through, the Fraser Valley. So it's not as dramatic as far as the mountains, but I like that. It's a little more relaxing. You're not constantly on the search for wildlife, and your neck isn't sore from looking up at the mountains and looking for eagles and things like that. And then you're also traveling to Vancouver, so you're gonna, you're gaining an hour of daylight, and you're also coming into the west for sunset. So I'm thrilled that Renee has chosen a westbound departure. So once we're at the train station, you'll be boarding coaches to take you to your hotel for the evening. And Vancouver is really special. If you haven't been, we have lots of amazing hotel partners in the area, the Fairmonts, the Sheraton, Pan Pacific as well. And there's so much to do. It's so diverse. This is just the Sheridan Wall. So this is one of our gold level properties. But like I said, we use the Fairmonts, the Pan Pacific, just to name a few. And your transfers to from the train station to your Vancouver hotel are included. And like I said, please explore. There's so much to do. You could go up to Gross Mountain. Our group did, I'm trying to remember, we did the Capilano Suspension Bridge as well. And we did Stanley Park. You could go over to Victoria. There's just a slew of things that you can do in Vancouver. Great dining, shopping, you name it, we have it all. So if you're looking for something a little bit longer than the rail only, but nothing too long, and perhaps Renee's selection doesn't work with your schedule, um, our shortest package is our classics. So these are available for First Passage to the West or Journey Through the Clouds, and they're 5 nights total. So you're going to have 2 nights before your journey, your overnight in Kamloops, and 2 nights in a mountain town. So whether that's Jasper, Banff, or Lake Louise, depending on which package you choose. So that's our shortest package. So then we get into some longer options like Journey Through the Clouds, Discovery, Lake Louise, or Banff. So this one, you'll have 2 nights in Vancouver, an overnight in Kamloops, and then you have 2 nights in Jasper and 2 nights in Lake Louise or Banff and a night in Calgary. And keep in mind, you can always start in Calgary and go west as well. And then last but not least, I'm not going to go through all of this one, but this is our longest package. This one can either be 13 nights or 15 nights if you decide that you'd like to keep 2 nights on before your journey and 2 nights after your journey in Vancouver. But this kind of ticks all the boxes. It's Rainforest to Gold Rush, so you're going to do Whistler, Quesnel, Jasper. You're going to come down the Icefields Parkway and do Lake Louise and Banff, overnight in Kamloops, and then end in Vancouver. So for some promotions that we have right now, if any of you that are joining us have been on Rocky Mountaineer previously, and keep in mind, this is our 35th season, we do have an exclusive promotion that can only be utilized through our travel agent partners. So you would have to book it through Renee. It's a savings of $500 Canadian per couple on any of our 2025 Canadian Rocky journeys. And we also right now have our final call promotion. So this is great if anybody doesn't want to wait till 2026 to join Renee and you want to travel this year. This is running until May 15th. It's a savings of $1,000 per couple on our Canadian routes. Plus, being Canadian residents, you can save an extra $500 per couple as well. So, a total of $1,500 per couple if you're a Canadian resident and you book by May 15th for our 2025 journeys. Now, regarding Renee's group departure, she also has special pricing in effect. So, if you book and deposit for Renee's 2026 May departure. It's a savings of $500 per person. Okay, so that's only applicable on the May 28th to June 3rd departure with Renee. But it is a huge savings. So that has to be booked by May 15th as well to get that special group pricing. Okay. And I think that is it for me. Now, you probably noticed I didn't have any pricing included in the presentation because I wanted to give you a really good overview of all of your options and the service levels as well, and what to expect on board the train. Um, we wanted to highlight, of course, Renee's group departure in May of 2026. So if you have any specific questions regarding pricing, whether they're single or double occupancy, all of that jazz, or perhaps you're interested in another departure, not the group departure, then please reach out to Renee so she can get you the best price possible. Her email is there down below there on the left, as well as her phone number and her Instagram, Facebook, and website pages. Now I'm going to pass it back over to Renee, see if she has any final comments, thoughts, as well, we'll see if there are any questions.
Well, what do you think of that? Isn't that great? This is all in our own backyard. So, just a personal note, Vancouver is my original hood. I live in Ontario now, and my husband drove that train in his striped overalls and hat. But we have never, as a couple, had the opportunity to get on the train. And that is why we decided, let's put a group together. We're getting old. Let's do this. We're going to do it. So we planned it for next year if you're interested at all. It'll give you the chance to place a deposit now and make your final payment next year. So it gives you a chance to save. Now, we're hosting the group in, like she said, in May on the 28th to June 2nd from Calgary to Vancouver. I can give you all the information you need. You can just get a hold of me. But the thing is, you'll get the recording from this video as well. And in that email, everything will be in there. We have a website page up and running. And if you can't think of some questions now, but maybe you will later, please get a hold of me. I can try to answer them as best I can. Like I said, we are a railway family. I got kids who are locomotive engineers, and I have a daughter who's a rail traffic controller.
Ooh.
So we talk about railways a lot. So I just wanted to let you know, if you don't have a travel advisor and you're looking to maybe go on the Rocky Mountaineer, I'm here for you. Just get a hold of me. I would be happy to work with you and curate something fantastic. And if there's something we didn't talk about in here, please let me know. But I'd like to see if anybody has any questions now that perhaps we can answer for you. I don't see anything in the chat. Maybe nobody can think of anything. Maybe you covered it all, Jennifer. All right. I wanted to say something as a Vancouverite, though.
Uh-huh.
That Capilano suspension bridge and going up to Grouse Mountain, they are pivotal to do those kind of things. They're
Yes.
so fun if you have time. It gives you a whole different experience of getting out of the city, but you're just really over to North Vancouver area, and that's all there for us. So
And
continuation.
I was also going to say, if when you visit Vancouver, I highly also recommend Flyover. It's right down at Canada Place. It's really awesome. It goes through all of Canada, and it's like a ride, but you don't have to do anything. You just sit there, and it's really, really special. So
Reminds me of Expo 86, one
yeah,
of those screens that you see
yeah,
when you sit in there,
exactly.
get your passport stamped. Alrighty, so no questions. So I think that we will end this recording. And like I said, we will send you the email with the recording and more information about the trip. Since we do have to